Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel, God's Way. I am so glad you're here. This is going to be a space for receiving the channels and the truths of God. My name is Carolyn Ann Colleen. I am a channel of God. I am here to help you find your way home to yourself, find your way to God, and really live the life that God promised you. So, welcome to my sanctuary. Welcome to my space. Let's get comfortable together. I would love this experience for you to be as easy as graceful and also as clunky and as chaotic as life is right now. We're truly living in ending times and beginning times. And I want to speak into what is going on earth and in this journey together through God's way share a living testimony of how I have walked with God through the past 10 years of my life, to really understand not only the wisdom that God used to create earth and you and everything that is part of our earthly experience, um, as well as to understand the very real challenges that go on earth and why everything is happening. And to do this best is to completely take myself out of it as a human being and to dive into what I have channeled, what God has shown me, that really is so very important and really going to give you a lot of hope, as well as give you some tools, some a greater understanding, lots of wisdom, and lots of laughter along the way. Okay, so as God is with us in this space, God is with you right now in your trials, your tribulations, and in all of your blessings. I'm going to read now a channel that I received this morning. And well, the best thing for me to do is just dive right into it. I would love for you to like and subscribe to my channel. If you feel called, please join my email list, and you can sign up for my email list by grabbing my freebie. It is a delightful and powerful surrender meditation. I use this surrender meditation every single day, sometimes many times a day, when I feel myself getting into panic, when I feel myself being overwhelmed with the earthly burdens. It instantly brings me into a space of deep connection and surrender to the higher way, God's way. And that is the higher way. And that is where God says to us, give me your burdens. Let me lift the weight of the world on your shoulder, off your shoulders, and simply surrender to what is so I can bring forth what is meant for you. Okay. Now, also, you can join me on Substack, where I'm going to be sharing more of God's promise. And God's promise is more about how do we become the receivers of the promise of God. And the promise of God, of course, is the desires of our soul. And trust me when I share that I am I am a former New Age coach. For many, many years, I was doing high-level galactic channeling. I was doing heart activations and going to portals all over the world. And I really was shown very, very strongly to stop doing all of that, to surrender to a higher a higher love, to God, right? And over the course of the last few weeks, I have been really brought to a deep, deep, deep knowing that it is truly through Christ and our connection to Christ and Christ within us, and how our connection to Christ and God um, is the bridge, the true bridge to the kingdom. Now, as a vessel, as a a child of God, I am still um, separating what I have known as teachings in the New Age space to what I know to be the truth. So as I am kind of, well, definitely very much separating myself and aligning fully with the truth of who I am as a child of God, and really letting God be my guide. I'm going to be sharing, that journey with you, honestly, authentically, truthfully, because it truly is the only way to freedom. And we are in a place right now where we're being asked to really truly let go of what we thought was a truth or an identity, and truly surrender what we believe to a higher knowing. And that is truly to surrender to God. So I see that my computer battery is dying. That is because as I was setting up my office today, I just watered my plants and I did some gardening and rearranged some of my office space to reflect this new beginning, or this resurrection of my business, of all the things that I'd done before into God's way. I was setting up my lighting today and literally everything started to fall. So I believe that my computer got unplugged. I'm going to pause and come back. So as the lighting was falling, it's always a metaphor for me and what is showing up. What is actually falling away is the false light being what we've been holding on to, that we have felt as being safe. Um, we could also say that darkness is descending upon us. And even with how I was feeling this morning in my breath being shallow, feeling like I was, unable to really like just relax, even though I was following what God asked me to do this morning. I was listening and I was channeling, and it felt all really good, but there was this inability to kind of like deeply breathe. And that's when I pulled up my, the surrender meditation that I did yesterday, and it brought me back to deep, deep presence. Okay. And whatever you're experiencing in life today that may be hard, it may be like, oh, I feel like the more I work, the less I feel like I'm alive. There's a reason for that. And the reason is because we are really truly asking to let go of our way and let God guide us, let God truly lead us. And this is no simple task, but as we are in the ending of doing it our way, right? We truly are. And surrendering to the higher plan or the higher will of God, we are liberated. We are saved. We are brought into a much more peaceful, happy, joyful state. And it's not through the material things that this happens. It's just because that is how God designed us to be, and that's how God wants us to live. Free of worry, free of fear, free of the burdens of the earth that has been our existence for all of our lifetimes. Okay. All right. So here we go. I am reading this. This is a living testimony of my journey into God's way. So I hope you enjoy it. I would love to hear your comments. And again, feel free to sign up for my free gift, which is the meditation that has brought so much peace to my heart, to my clients' hearts, and I know it will bless you many times over. My own journey to God came through the loss, so shattering it broke me to my bones. It was the loss of the custody of my 3 daughters. That day after the judgment, standing at the top of a mountain, I cried out. I didn't know who I was crying out to, but I knew this. I saw God in the sky above me. I knew in my heart and my soul that I was being initiated into something much greater. I sensed that my soul had already chosen this pathway, but I didn't understand any of it. It all felt so wrong. And I was certainly not in control of any of it. Though I fought desperately to get my children back, I slowly realized that God was asking me to surrender, not to my own way, but to his way. I moved to a small coastal town by myself. I was guided here. I had no family, no friends, just an ocean to hold me. I carried guilt and shame and a crushing weight of believing I was the one who caused this. I carried anger, rage, and frustration and fury towards my ex-husband. Some nights of grief were unbearable. I would cry myself until I broke open. And in those tears, something profound happened. God, Christ, Jesus entered my body. It wasn't something that I was familiar with. It came through an unbelievable experience that was profoundly supernatural. During this time, I sought meaning, connection, and peace through spiritual practices. I traveled the globe, explored portals all over the world, and I dabbled in soul activations. I'm going to talk more about this in my future shares, most likely on Substack. But these experiences were short-lived. I definitely started to feel more alive. I started to feel more awake. I started to feel more of who I was, but they ended. Okay, I'll just leave it at that. They ended. When I realized that I could only go to the truth and that nothing in the new age world or experiences was going to bring me back to myself, was going to truly like resurrect me. Back to the channeling. That was a little side note. Every other weekend on Wednesdays, I saw my daughters. We lived an hour apart. The drive inland tore me open. Passing the house where my children lived with their father and their new partner was an agony. I felt like loss upon loss. But even in those moments that seemed to go on forever, God spoke to me. On that road, I saw a sign called God's Way. This really like jumped out at me. And each time I passed it, there was no accident. It was God reminding me, trust me, I have a greater plan than your own. I share this because I know what collapse feels like. I know what endings feel like. I know what it feels like to lose every aspect of your identity. and to feel like nothing is ever going to be happy. You're never going to feel whole again. I clung to this reality of being a mom the way I thought I was going to be a mom until something more beyond my imagination took hold of me. And this was God. And this was God's hand in every aspect of my life. This was God speaking to me. This was God telling me, this is what you do. And the more I followed that way, the more I saw myself come back from the dead, literally. The more I became me, the truth of who I am, the version of me, the only truth of who I am. I can't even say the version of me because me, right? Me without performing, me without striving, me without needing any identity. And I have to tell you that I am still very much in this process. I know firsthand that collapse is holy, and collapse is where God enters, and collapse is where God breathes for you, and God rebuilds through you. And so I had to allow the version of me that created the collapse to die. And yes, I created the collapse through my thoughts, through my beliefs, through my actions. But in that, I don't carry the shame or the guilt of the woman who created her own collapse because she was simply doing it herself and didn't understand the power of God and didn't understand how to surrender to God's way. God's way is not through force. It is not through doing it because you want it. It is not through most times God's way is not through the action that you think it is going to be. God's way comes through directives. God's way comes through a voice, a higher knowing. God's way comes through when there's a block and you are like, I can't move forward with anything right now in my life. That's when you surrender and you allow God to show you the way. And this is hard. This is a very difficult, and yet a very difficult practice to allow God to do the work for you because we are so used to working so hard. God's way is not ego. God's way is not about holding grudges. God's way will not accept illusions, not accept us to live in the illusions. God's way is stripping bare. And this is the part that if you are in this space, this is the part where alchemy, alchemizing what is breaking, what has broken, what has fallen into what is yet to become and being the truth of who you are. God's way is a return to love, the most undeniable, unbelievable, devotional, deep, powerful, unshakable love. And this is what we seek outside of ourselves, right? We seek that. I want to feel fulfillment. I want to feel the love of someone else. I want to feel happy, joyful, peaceful. Well, God's way, God's love, allowing God in, that's what creates through you that deep, unshakable, undeniable feeling of love. That's the place that I share this testimony from. not from ego, but surrender. Because most recently, I found myself yet again at an ending of the teachings that I had shared for so long, where I literally could not speak another word by myself, where I didn't know what was going to happen with my business that now I know is a ministry. That my relationships, all of a sudden, the way that I was approaching them, the way that I was um, interacting, that stopped. And it was almost like for days, I couldn't speak. I felt like I couldn't even eat. And I had profound experiences that I want to share with you because, hey, I think that more and more people are having these experiences or want to have these supernatural experiences, these deep, deep, deep moments with God Himself, our Father. And here is what God shared with me at the closing of the message that He downloaded into me. I am your protector. I love you unconditionally. I am here with you and for you. I have always been here. I am here asking you to remember me. I am asking you to remember who you truly are. Not an identity, not just a body, but the one who carries within you the power, the wisdom, and the truth to create a life rooted in me. Thank you so much for watching and being here. Please don't forget to follow me on Substack for I'm new to Substack. It's where I'm guided to go. So it's a whole new experience for me, but I will be sharing more of my testimony, more talking about God's promise, which is just something I want you to get so lit up about because it's here. And chaos, challenge, collapse, darkness, feeling overwhelmed, those are all signs that God actually is here in your life. And yeah, there are specific things that you can do to start allowing God into your life, to start doing the heavy lifting for you. My first recommendation is going to be the surrender meditation. That is linked below. That is also going to get you into my email community, where you'll be more connected and in the flow of God's way. God's way is the only way to the promise. The promised land, of course, is the kingdom. The kingdom, of course, is what you choose to create as your own reality. And that is the only way that we can do that. I am 100% certain is through God. Jesus is our connection in the earth realm to God. And I am just really diving into learning more about Jesus, the Bible, which I had read before and backtrack. I had dabbled in before. I had purchased a Bible and I am really, literally, God is calling out to me like in the morning and just directing me to the perfect passages. I am a Christian. I am not, I never went, I shouldn't say I never went to church, but there was really no denomination in my family. I grew up asking my grandfather, tell me about God. My grandfather was a Eucharistic minister. Um, and I came upon God through my own pain, my own misfortunes when I didn't know the pathway forward. And through God, through the miracles that got created through God, the supernatural that got created through God, through me, um, oh, my life just turned around. My relationships are restored. My children are back in my life. I have complete peace with what has happened in the past. And my testimony is a testimony of truly a walk with faith, a walk by faith, not by sight type of thing. And I'm going to share more of that. So I'd love to hear what you loved about this video, and thank you so much for being here.